Regent Hickman.
Here.
Regent Turpin.
Here.
Regent Taylor.
Here.
We have a quorum.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the December meeting?
So moved.
Any discussion? Those in favor say aye. Opposed, abstained? All right, the motion passes. Well, good morning. We are pleased to welcome today Governor Kevin Stitt to our state regents meeting. To be respectful of his time, we will go ahead and take his remarks up first on our agenda. As you come up to the podium, Governor, I want to thank you for being here today and for your leadership and engagement on higher education. We can't be certain that you're the first governor to ever come to one of our state regents meetings to make remarks, but if not, you're certainly the first in a very long time. And so we are very honored to have you here today. You have consistently led our state with a vision to be top 10 in job growth, infrastructure, education, and economic opportunity. And my colleagues and I believe that the policies and direction that come out of this board actually play a really big role in all of those things, probably more than perhaps people even realize. So again, it means a lot to us that you take time out of your day to be here, and it is our honor and privilege to have you with us. Then I would ask all of you to please join me in welcoming a fourth generation Oklahoman, a graduate of Oklahoma State University, the husband to Sarah, the father of 6, and our state's 28th governor, Kevin Stitt.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for that warm welcome, and also a brand new grandfather. I've got to add that to the bio. So my daughter had our first grandchild about a little over a week ago. So pretty exciting times in our household. And you should see the other guy. Well, it's an honor to be with you. And first, I want to thank you for your service to the state. You guys have such an important job of directing higher education all across Oklahoma. So on behalf of 4 million Oklahomans, thank you for your service to our state. You don't get the credit that you deserve, and so appreciate your leadership, and just honored that you guys have accepted the challenge to put yourself out there and to lead with integrity. But it's my honor to be here with you. And since I became governor in 2019, we have watched OU, OSU undergo great wins, both academically and on the gridiron and in the sports realm. Just to brag on OU for a second, they've won 4 national championships in gymnastics, 4 national championships in college women's softball. Oklahoma State has won 2 cross-country championships, which I'm proud about, and then they won a golf championship just last year, I think. So doing real well. And then David Taylor, I'm excited about OSU's wrestling programs doing amazing things. And then OU's first year in the SEC, they were able to make it to college playoffs, which is just amazing. And I got to tell y'all, back in, I think it was 2021, I get a call very early in the morning, and it's from Governor Abbott. And he's like, "Governor, what are we going to do about the most pressing issue facing our 2 states?" And I'm thinking, border, what's he talking about? And he's like, "What are we going to do with OU and Texas going to the SEC?" I said, I don't think we can get in front of that train. That's moving. But it's a new day in higher education when at my State of the State, I look up and I see the OU president and the OSU president up there holding hands in the gallery. So that was funny. But our universities are positioning Oklahoma students for success in any field that they choose to pursue. Take nursing, for example. When I first became governor, I met with some of the hospital CEOs, and they just said, "Governor, we're having a nursing shortage in the state of Oklahoma. You really need to help push some of the higher ed to train more nurses." And so I remember going to OU Health at the time and saying, "Hey, how many nurses are we graduating?" And at the time they said, well, they pulled the numbers for me. They said, "Governor, we're graduating 250. And I said, "Okay, how many applications are we getting?" And at the time, I think it was around 550. And I was like, "Well, why can't we train all 550? If they have the ability and they want to be nurses and they're here in Oklahoma, let's do it." And then, you get some answers about teacher faculty ratios and this and that. And so as a business guy, I kept pushing and asking questions of what does Texas A&M do and what do these other universities do and what's our competition? We need it for the workforce. And so one of my most memorable favorite press conferences I've ever had was with OU Health and Joe Harris when they announced that they had about 600 applicants in nursing and they accepted all 600 into the nursing program. And so that was a great day. Today, we've turned that vision into a huge victory with over 1,000 new nurses just from OU were turned out in 2024. To brag on OC, they put a LPN to RN program together, and they have an online nursing program now. So we are meeting the needs. And I think that's what higher ed should be doing. Get with the industries, figure out what the workforce needs we need, and then let's just go meet that demand. It's pretty simple, but we have to get with the workforce and push them forward. If we do that, we will continue to be the state that companies want to come here for. It's all about labor. Every time we talk from a commerce perspective, it's can I get the talent? Can I get the labor? So you have risen to the challenge. Really, really thank you for that. I challenge our university system to prioritize degree programs that match workforce needs across the state, including engineering. Boeing is constantly needing more engineering. We know we have a huge asset with Tinker. Healthcare is another one, computer science, and you guys have risen to the challenge. In 2025, 88% of all degrees and certificates awarded align directly with Oklahoma's top workforce needs. Oklahoma's public higher education system now has recorded 5 consecutive years of fall enrollment growth. That's also something I'm very proud of. Oklahoma is the place to be. Back in 2019, I brought Joe Harris and Burns Hargis at the time in, and I said, hey guys, let's really set a vision to grow our universities to 40,000 students. And it seemed like a huge deal. Like there's no way we could get there. We were much lower, probably in the 20s at that time. And I said, it's really hasn't grown much since when I was a freshman at Oklahoma State in 1991. We need to push the needle because Oklahoma is the place to be. And what I was shocked with, and I think most people here would be shocked, that part of the narrative at the time was, well, we think the legislature might be frustrated with us if we bring too many people from out of state, right? I'm like, let's not slow down on educating Oklahomans, but it's a great workforce. It's a great migration effort to bring people in from Texas into our great universities, and they fall in love with Oklahoma and find their significant other and stay here in our great state. So we want to encourage that. If we're true with our values, I believe it's just very attractive to people from around the country to come to our state. So today, we're closing on that number very, very fast. I was just talking to some of the president, Joe, and he was just like, I didn't think that 40,000 was possible when you challenged us with it, but now we're at 36,000 students, and we're moving towards that number. So you guys are crushing it, and just thank you for that. Early on, I also brought in business. I came from the business world. So in 2019, I'm trying to make Oklahoma top 10. And I challenged the both big universities on research. Let's really focus on research. Let's focus on, and you can't be all things to all people. So let's stop competing with each other so much. Let's compete in sports, but not necessarily in the academic field. I said, OU, what are the 3 things that you want to focus on that you think you can be number 1 in the world at? And OSU, the same thing. And let's really try to tailor those research dollars, and we can go get the right professors. And we had Tomas was here for a while, did a really good job. I think he's at the University of Arizona now. But OU picked weather and radar. They really wanted to be number 1 in the world at that. And we have a huge advantage. So that makes perfect sense with the Weather Center here. And we can get our federal delegation aligned with those values. We can all talk from the same hymnal, and we can really build momentum around that. So weather and radar was OU's. Defense and aerospace, we're seeing us grow in that. It also helps align even K through 12, like what are we going to focus on? And then cancer research. And we just made a big announcement with the Stevenson Cancer Center up in Tulsa. Really excited about that directional focus. And let's not be all things to all people. If I've got a burger restaurant, even though I want to take your money, I'm not going to go back there and make your pizza, right? I've got to focus, and I've got to be good at a couple things. I can't be good at every single thing. So OSU's been killing it. Rural health. You just saw we got the third, I think it was the third, maybe the fourth biggest grant of any other state, right? We're the 28th largest state population-wise. We way outkicked our coverage, and we got $250 million for a 5-year period every year for rural healthcare, which is just going to be amazing. We got that because of our relationship with the federal government, RFK, Dr. Oz, and so they were giving our state that. But that's part of that is back to those focused efforts from our universities. So OSU's focused on rural health, defense and drones, unmanned aircraft. That is the future, and I'm so excited OSU's focused on that. With the FAA Center here, we have a great opportunity to plant the flag, to be a leader in unmanned aircraft. And then obviously agriculture. OSU is an agricultural university. I'm also pushing them to control their intellectual property. They should be making money off that as they develop seed varieties, et cetera, et cetera. So we want them to continue to focus on that. But this growth expands our really entire system. I know our regional universities, our 2-year colleges, our research hubs, we're all thriving in our state right now. In Tulsa, this was something we've been focused on for a long time, and I know Mitch and I guess Ken Levis. Is Ken normal here?
Yeah.
He's out of town. Ken really worked on this. Normally what?
No, he's normally here.
Okay.
Yeah.
We ended exclusivity restrictions on certain programs and have been able to expand undergraduate offerings at OU and OSU Tulsa, which is a huge deal for the city of Tulsa at their campuses. So it directly answers workforce needs that we needed in the city of Tulsa. This moment, we had to pass a bill, we had to settle a lawsuit. You guys were right in the middle of all of that. It was common sense to give people and students more options there in Tulsa. But this momentum invites us to think differently, not just about growth, but about integration, not about institutions, but about outcomes, not about short-term change, but about building a system that can serve Tulsa students and employers for decades to come. To do this, we need everyone engaged, staying at the table, committed to Tulsa's future. On the career tech front, we have 122,000 students in secondary programs. And by streamlining it into higher ed pathways, we're positioning Oklahoma for a top 10 national ranking in workforce readiness. So the permeability of going to a career tech and then be able to move into higher ed and get a bachelor's degree, it's just common sense. Let's make sure we're talking and we're not all in these silos. I think that's really, really important. It makes sense for Oklahomans. I took a trip to Switzerland with the National Governor Association to look at their model. And I think you guys would be amazed. I just encourage us to continue to think about what's possible. The thing that impressed me with Switzerland and Germany was they look at education and education is workplace learning is education, I guess. So they're in 9th grade. This is what was amazing. In 9th grade, the compulsory education in high school ends. And literally 15-year-olds sign a contract to go work for a company. And in the US, we think that, well, if you're not going to go to college, you're somehow a lesser than, or we're going to poo-poo that, or the career tech is not as good, and I want my son or daughter to go to higher ed, right? That's the ultimate. But it's not that way in these other countries, and that's what I loved about it. So the CEO of UBS, the largest bank there in Switzerland, he started as an apprentice, and I'm going to explain how their system works. The president of Lufthansa has a huge operation in Tulsa, started as an apprentice. So like 90% of the kids do this pathway. What really jumped out to me, I met a girl who was 19 years old and she wanted to be an architect. And so when she was 15, after her freshman year, she signed up and her apprenticeship was at a architecture firm to become a draftsperson. And so for 3 years, and they get paid about $1,000 a month, 1,000 Swiss francs a month during their time. So the kids love it. And then once she finishes that 3-year period, she's graduated now. She's a draft person. And then here's what's key. About half of them go on to university. Same we have. We have about 50% of our kids go to university, but the difference is their 50% now have a certificate and they've worked at Swisscom, and it's the equivalent of our AT&T, or they've worked in HR, or they've worked as an A&P mechanic. So they've learned something that they can go on and get a job offer. So it doesn't foreclose the opportunity to go to university. They're going to have the same amount of kids go to university as we do here. They just look at that high school just a little bit differently. So I took some of the leaders of Tulsa with me when we went over there, and I'm excited about what they're doing to make that happen. Boeing has started here in Oklahoma City. They're doing a program for high school kids that's really amazing. I just met with them. I signed last year Senate Bill 95 that makes it easier for companies to build apprenticeship and internship programs by limiting the liability that they take for higher students. That was one of the obstacles we heard, and we eliminated that for them. So I just want to encourage you to think about that and how we reimagine education for our kids. Also, I want to brag on Sean Burridge and this whole team here for what you've done over the last year, reducing agency staffing from 210 to 191 full-time equivalent employees. That's nearly a 10% reduction, while advancing major statewide initiatives. I appreciate the example. We're always talking about delivering better services for Oklahoma, but always being mindful of the taxpayers. So today I'm filing an executive order to continue our progress as an outcome-based system. In this executive order, I'm calling on our public colleges to consider student wages and employment outcomes when a state approves or sunsets an academic program. So just last month, you guys led, and it was hard decisions. And I know that, to close 41 degree programs. And you put 193 more on action plans. Just encourage you to keep this up. This is important, to always be thinking about how we are utilizing state resources to align with workforce and make sure we're taking care of the taxpayers' money. So continue to do this. We think it's great to keep the best outcomes for the students and their investments in our system. And also in this executive order, I'm asking for our higher ed institutions to prioritize a 90-hour pathway to a bachelor's degree. This speeds up workforce entry. It makes so much sense. Once you've conducted a feasibility study, I'll need your help to ensure that the vision cascades throughout the entire education system. Just, Massachusetts, they're already got a pilot program in a 90-hour bachelor program. Maine, Indiana, Utah, they're already working on this as well. I don't want to get behind. If we do that, again, it will just continue to make Oklahoma top 10, and the people and the businesses will come. They'll know they have the workforce here. I'm also filing an executive order to spur our college and university boards to enact tenure reform. Okay, no job funded by taxpayers should be exempt from regular, meaningful performance reviews. Whether you're the governor or you are a university professor, let's modernize higher education so it looks more like the real world our students will enter, rewarding excellence and staying focused on results. I believe we should standardize how many classes should a professor teach, or how many research dollars should they bring in. But don't let someone teach no classes and bring no research dollars in, right? That's pretty silly. And just because they have tenure, they sit there. So challenge them, push them. We hold people accountable, and it's just amazing. You get what you inspect, and we know that in business, and we need to push. We need to push for tenure reform to hold people accountable. This session, I'm also calling for tort reform to cap wrongful termination suits against universities, enabling swift removal of underperforming academic employees or limiting liability. We also hear, well, if we terminate this person, we'll get sued. It's not worth it. We'll just let them do nothing for the next, 10 years till hopefully they leave. Well, that's not a good solution either. Most Oklahomans think that's weird. That's dumb. It shouldn't happen. Oklahomans will always back excellent faculty, but we should not subsidize systems that put privilege over performance. So we are building a winning culture. In closing, I just want to encourage you because we are doing some amazing things in Oklahoma. We're equipping students for success. We're keeping talent at home, propelling Oklahoma to higher rankings. So proud of you guys. Thank you all for serving our state. Help us finish strong. And I'll close with my favorite story of Will Rogers. So Will Rogers tells a story about most famous Oklahoman about this mountain lion. One time it went out and killed this bull. And it was so satisfied and full, just ate this bull, that it starts roaring and roaring and roaring. Finally, a hunter hears this mountain lion roaring. So he shoots and kills the mountain lion. And the moral of that story is, when you're full of bull, keep your mouth shut.
Oh.
God bless you guys.
I see already a hand raised here. Yes, Regent Turpin.